Hi, my name is Cassandra Brown, and this presentation is over sugar-sweetened beverage consumption and obesity among New York residents. Some background on what we're covering and to help understand the importance of it. In 2016, about 60% of New York adults were overweight or obese, which as we can see is more than half. This is a significant increase in number from previous recordings of similar status. There's also numerous studies showing associations between sugary beverages and weight gain. Many of these are on children and the later impact in life, but still this is important. It affects everybody. So a data analysis was performed to assess the sugar-sweetened beverage consumption among New York residents and the association to increased BMI, and a possible intervention has been outlined. Basically, the aim of the project is to assess the association between sugar-sweetened beverage consumption and BMI among New York residents. To do this, the methods we use the behavioral risk factor surveillance system. This is a data set that uses self-report surveys that are done over the phone. Both landlines and cell phones were used for this. The data pulled was for the New York residents for 2016. The subsample that we contracted from this, our outcome of interest was BMI. The exposure of interest is sugar-sweetened beverage consumption, and there are several covariates that were considered and analyzed, including sex, age, Hispanic ethnicity, race, education, income, physical activity, history of CVD, as well as diabetes. The data analysis system that we used was Stata version 15, and there was a lot of kind of considerations or a lot of work put into the data analysis. Exclusion criteria was important for the BMI that we used. We recoded the sugar-sweetened beverages that was used. Soda and fruit drinks were kind of initially two separate categories. We recoded this to make it one variable to be considered, and then a very complex survey weighting system was used to clean the data for the covariates as well. We used linear regression, both simple and multiple, to represent and display the association of BMI and sugar-sweetened beverages. And crude and adjusted regression is what we reported. The results of this, the sugar-sweetened beverage consumption for residents, 32% reported no consumption, 21% 0 to 1 beverage per week, 28% had 1 to 7, 19% had more than 7. For those reporting no sugar-sweetened beverages, 32% had a normal BMI, 33% were overweight, 30% were obese. The mean age was about 48. It was about half and half, male and female. That being said, for males, there were more overweight and obese than normal weight, especially compared to the female numbers. And for race, majority of participants were white at 72%. Blacks were then 17%, and an alarming high number here was that 23% of this was obese, which is higher than the other categories. The non-Hispanic ethnicity is not pictured on this page, but it showed a much lower BMI than the Hispanic ethnicity group. For education, college grads showed the lowest for obesity, 27% obese compared to some college at 30, and high school or less at 43%, which showed that their education may play a significant role in this. Income was also important. Over half of participants were in the highest income group that we had set. 54% were over $50,000 annual income, with 57% having normal weight, 56% being overweight, and 49% being obese. And we did have about 77% report some sort of physical activity being done. So the results overall for sugar sweetened beverage consumption, we have one significant difference, or one significant note of interest for the unadjusted was those consuming greater than 7 beverages per week had an increase of about 0.43 units of BMI. The adjusted had a lot more interesting data, an increase of 0.49 of BMI. For the interesting parts of the adjusted data is for those consuming 0 to 1 beverages per week, about an increase of 0.49 BMI. It was 0.47 BMI for greater than 7 beverages, and much higher than any of those, an increase in 0.73 units of BMI for no physical activity at all, which what we know about energy intake, this isn't, or energy balance, that's not that alarming. The lowest levels of BMI were for females, non-Hispanics, and college graduates. So kind of the conclusion we gathered from all this, there's a positive association between sugar-sweetened beverages and BMI among New York residents. A higher BMI is noted for those consuming 1 to 7 beverages per week. We also note that income level, education level, history of CVD also showed some notable results, which leads us to believe that sugar-sweetened beverages should be limited or eliminated as much as possible. There's still additional research, especially concerning a lot of potential confounders with the data that we have analyzed. A proposed intervention is to increase community education, doing this through various channels. We saw that the higher education, the college grads, had less increase in BMI, so I think it could be helpful to kind of educate more. Some of the focuses would be on the health impacts of sugar-sweetened beverage consumption, educating on alternatives to the typical Cokes and sugary fruit drinks, and also educating on some people don't have the willpower to eliminate, but maybe just limiting some of the consumption. It's hard to completely eliminate it. Built environment plays a major role, and it's difficult to tackle with all the revenue sources that people see in this field. To do this, kind of taking a bunch of different approaches to it, utilizing social media, use very visually appealing but simple posts that can educate pretty quickly. Partnering with local doctors' offices so that physicians and nurses are helping to educate. Doing various posts around town in apartments and condos, recreational buildings and gyms, using government buildings where you know people are going to wait, post office, DMVs, etc. And then setting up a website that can be referenced for those who do want more information on how to approach it, and offering a community education at some of the local public schools could be beneficial for the younger generations, but also just to everyone so that they can come and be educated. And that is it for this presentation. So we've learned that sugar sweet beverages are definitely causing some increase in BMI, especially among the New York residents, and maybe we could try educating a little more to see if we can address that.